Hey, D-Draws. We're actually be teaching a class here soon, so once that goes live, we'll have something. Waiting for the meeting to host to start the meeting. But we're going to be teaching a class today on a few things. But I figured I'd live stream in the meantime. Let's see here, I go back to, no. Chat GPT. Where is it? Mastering Engineer Prep Guide. Use Chat GPT here to get my notes all put together. But still waiting. So we got this class that we're teaching. It's on mastering, and it's how it's basically prep for mastering engineer, like what you would send your mastering engineer. This is for a class that I thought I'm going to be teaching here soon. Once we start the thing here, I've logged in, but the host isn't ready. So we're just going to sit here and live stream and talk with people. You can see we've got the console behind us and our new speakers. Oops, can I move? New speakers. Hello there, Kumar. Hope everyone's doing well. We haven't live streamed in a couple days. Posted some shorts. India, got people from India. So host has joined. Ooh, we're getting there. We're getting somewhere. Let's see here. Oh no, okay. Host joined. Okay, there's Becca. There we go. I can go mine. I can go unmute. Hello there.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. There we go. I'm trying to get my video to start. So, but it's going well.
Not much. Just waiting for people to get on. I think Alec's on.
Looks like it.
Alec, how are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you a little bit.
Just a bit.
Let me see here. I don't really know what I'm doing, so I can fix it.
Well, that's okay. At least we can hear you, even though it's very soft.
Right.
But yeah, no, thank you guys for showing up today. I'm hoping that we are supposed to have 2 other people join us. So I'm going to give them about 15 minutes to go through and hop on.
Okay.
If they don't, we'll just kind of start the class. I'm sure Alec wants to go through and learn. He has some questions. And if not, we can go through and chat about some other stuff. We can talk just because Alec's one of our directors too.
Okay.
For Music First.
Cool.
So we can just talk about other stuff like the foundation or something like that.
Right.
I was warned that this weekend's Rocky Grass, and apparently a lot of people are there.
That is true. It is.
It always looks like a fun festival, but whenever I see pictures, people look like they're crammed in like sardines.
They are. Absolutely.
Like that Laverne Park or whatever it is. It's a very small park. I go hiking there. It's beautiful, but I can't imagine 20,000 people in it.
They used to do it closer to Estes Park. And I don't know why they moved it from Estes Park, but it used to happen there. And then I don't know if I thought they moved it because they outgrew the area. It was kind of kind of between Allen's Park and Estes Park.
Oh, okay.
Kind of in that area where there's a lot of open field, and maybe they just couldn't have the permits to do it up there. I'm not quite sure why they stopped, but that's where it used to be, and there was 20,000 people that would show up, and it was a lot of fun. You could camp up there too, because since it was up by Allen's Park, you could go
Mhm.
camp at all the like little camp
Campgrounds
area
that are
that
there.
are there, and yeah, people would do that, and then I don't know if maybe also COVID kind of changed some rulings for them where they're like, yeah, we can't have people camp anymore. So I don't know why they're doing it in that smaller park. It's still a nice park, very
Oh
beautiful up
yeah, it's a
there.
gorgeous park. It's just I can't, yeah. And I can't help but wonder if the location change has to do with a few years ago, Estes, the town,
Yeah,
or it might be the county that they're located in, changed their rulings when it came to festivals.
makes
There's
sense.
one musician that we work with who holds like Snowy Mass or something
Hmm.
at some festival up in Estes Park.
Right.
And she has trouble with it every single year, getting
It's
it approved, getting the licensing, the permit. So I think it has something to do with that.
it's probably Estes Park itself because Larimer County it's a big county. It goes all the way to Wyoming. Um,
Okay.
but I live in Larimer County, so I haven't heard anything like that. But I know Estes has some really strange things, laws or permitting things. Like they only allow a certain amount of Airbnbs up there. So if
Mm-hmm.
you own an Airbnb in Estes, consider yourself lucky because they don't allow them. My parents own one, and the only reason they own it is because it was grandfathered in. So when they bought the house, it was already set up to be permitted that way. So, but if you wanted to start a new one, it's like even for them to move the licensing from the previous owner to them took like 3 months. But yeah, they're getting a little strange up there. They're kind of last time I heard not they're not boycotting, but they're making it incredibly hard for tourism to happen in Estes, the current mayor. And it just has to do, I don't know why he's making it harder because that's how Estes makes like the majority of its money is
Yeah, I
through
was just
tourism.
gonna
So
say
like
is that
park,
that I don't even go to that town because I
no,
know it's so tourist packed.
yeah, the so you know, you used to be able to park on the street in Estes. You can no longer park on the street. Well, you can, but it's for like you have to pay, and it's for like 2 hours type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're trying to move everybody to park in their parking garage, which is not really anywhere close to where downtown tourism happens. It's kind of when you first enter the town there before the lake. So
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of that's happened, and a lot of they've actually even gotten rid of some of the parking, the street parking. They've just gone away with it, and I know that's hurt tourism quite a bit. I haven't been up there. I think I was up there once this summer.
Oh, I mean, I
And
wouldn't be shocked if they were doing what like Spain did and where they start kind of like turning against the tourists because I think at a certain point it gets too expensive.
I think
I mean, that's
that's where they're at, and they just don't have the taxation on businesses up there is just crazy, and they're even trying to they because they tax Airbnbs as well, like they tax Airbnbs the same way they tax hotels up there,
oh
which is
goodness.
insane if you own something like that up there. And I know a lot of them are trying to fight that right now, trying to get it to like, hey, we're not a hotel. We work like kind of like a hotel where people can come and stay from out of town, but we're not like we don't have multiple rooms, and if we do, it's like maybe 8, because they have a
Yeah,
certain amount of rooms that you with Airbnbs up there, you can only have a certain amount of rooms. You can't have more than 8 rooms. Like no more than 8 people can stay in a house. So it's like
it's
why you're basically taxing per person at this point, and they've I know that there's a lot of stuff that the businesses up there are trying to fight against the mayor, and I wouldn't surprise me if festivals were one of those things that got heavily taxed and heavily permitted
mhm. I
because
mean,
of
I'm sure the town looked at it as why do we need an additional 20,000 people here when we can barely handle the traffic that we have on a
right.
normal day? So that part does make sense. Another thing I always laugh at with Rocky Grass, again, I love the festival. It's a beautiful
Oh, it's great.
location. I love any place that supports music. But apparently, at the beginning portion of each day, they have like this outright sprint from the opening gate to where the grass is for
Yeah,
people to line up their blankets.
yeah, because that's the only place to sit. That's
That's also
yeah.
cuckoo puffs to me. People get hurt.
Oh
I've
yeah.
read stories about them getting trampled.
Yep.
And it's like, wow.
Well, the same thing happened like at Woodstock, when Woodstock was a big thing back in the 60s and 70s. They had the same thing. People would like wait, days to get in, and as soon as they would let people in, they would just rush in, and people would get trampled. And
There's got to be a better way than that. Like,
I don't know. It's hard to ticket festivals and keep it from people like sneaking in. So you kind of have to have like a gate. You have to have like a gate area for people to get in. But even then, it's still like not
but like,
ideal.
why not have like tiered tickets where like you have first entry? It's more expensive, but you get in between this hour and this hour.
Right.
That just scares me. I'm not a good runner. I would not do well in that, carrying a blanket and everything else that you need for the show.
Right.
But yeah. Well, yeah, apparently Rocky Grass is happening.
I noticed that last night. I was at Oscar Blues doing a show, and the band was great, but there was like, in the entire restaurant, there's like 50 people, like inside and outside. And I was like, that's weird. And then I was talking with the band, and I was like, yeah, Rocky Grass is happening, so we don't expect a ton of people to show up. I was like, oh, and you guys aren't a bluegrass band, so this makes total sense.
I know.
Why there's only 50 people here.
Someone even commented on one of our posts on Facebook. They were like, this is awesome, but it's Rocky Grass this weekend. I will not be attending. And
funny.
I'm literally like, there are other things, other music genres other than bluegrass.
Unless you live in Colorado, then it's bluegrass or country music or hip hop in some areas. Depending on, if you're in Denver, it's hip hop's a huge genre.
Yeah. I'm a big hip hop fan. Also rap too, and I like the fact that it's becoming more prominent out here. I have a couple of friends that are really good at it, and it makes me happy.
The funny thing is, it's always been out here, but it's just been so completely underground.
Oh yeah.
So
same thing with the metal scene. Like, I didn't know that there were clubs in Denver and actually surrounding Denver that are just metal music.
There used to be a couple in Fort Collins too. They closed. Hodie's Half Note, that they were a punk and metal venue. They closed for a lot of obvious reasons. Funding was the biggest one, but it just also needed to be like gutted and redone. Like, it had been updated in the 80s, and 30 years later, it still needed updated again. So it was just going to be too much of an undertaking for the owner. So that he closed it. Now it's a comedy club, which those are popping up like crazy now too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people want to go through and make jokes about our world right now. I still don't find a lot of stuff funny, but give me Parks and Recreation any day. I find that show hysterical.
That's unfortunately that's actually the entire Loveland. I believe the Loveland Parks and Recs is ran very similar to that. Like the action, because you can go take tours of all the departments, and we did one. That. Working for the city, I got to go do one of our whole department did one, going over and seeing like the different departments and how they work. And one was, we walked into Parks and Recreation, and it was like everybody was serious, but if you're from an outside view, you're like, this is totally how that show runs. Like, there's always the Ron Swanson guy in the corner who's like, I can do whatever I want. I'm the leader.
That, like, if I ever got a job in Parks and Recreation, that would be for the sole purpose so I could have a handwritten piece of paper saying I can do whatever I want, and then sign it like Ron Swanson did.
Yeah, I the funny thing is, like, we walked in there and he actually had one, like someone had wrote him like as a joke, painted up like his bulletin board. Like, I was like, that's funny. You guys are fun. I don't know if I'd work in this department, but you guys are fun.
Right now in Longmont, the Parks and Recreation Department is getting a lot of hate because they had construction on the, I don't know,
everywhere.
Like the canals that fill Union Reservoir. So this whole summer, it hasn't been filled.
It's been empty.
And they're finally opening the swim beach July 28th, but it closes about 3 weeks later.
At least you guys have a swim beach. They didn't open ours this year. Loveland usually has one. They didn't open it.
They probably ran into the same issue.
No. They ran into budget cuts.
Oh,
because we used to have
yeah.
a food tax on everything. Like you'd pay when you go to grocery store or restaurant, you paid an extra food tax, and that extra food tax would go towards the recreation stuff like that, or some of it, not all of it, but some of it. Some of the arts as well would go to some of the arts. Rialto Theater would get some of it. They had a lagoon. They closed the lagoon because the lagoon was leaking. Couldn't fill it. It only filled up to a certain point, and then it would leak, and no one knew where the water was going. So they closed that. They're still working on it. It's been closed for like 2 years. They're still trying to figure out where the water's going. It's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, they're like, you can go have. It was cool because in the middle of the lagoon was an island, and on the island they have concerts.
Oh, that would
And
be
you'd sit
beautiful.
around the island. It was great, but yeah, the island's leaking, so there's no water in the island. There's no water in it to be an island, so now it's more like a peninsula or archipelago. It's not really an island anymore. So they're trying to figure out where the water's going and where the leak is at because they can't find the leak either. They can't find where the water's going or where the leak is at. So.
Well, our swim beach was closed because there was just not enough water for it to be open.
Lake Loveland was the same way for a good up through June. Like most of June, there was no water in it. And then on one day, I drove past it. I was like, now it's full. It was empty yesterday. Where did all the water come from? So.
Well, it's just they've been getting a lot of heat from it because they're like, great, we're so glad that we're going to be able to use our membership finally for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I imagine that.
But anyway, so it makes me a little sad, but I don't know where the other two are. And Dan has been really good at being on these.
Okay.
So, but he is a bluegrass musician, so he might be at Rocky Grass and just didn't let me know. But I will leave it up to you guys. So Alec is a musician himself.
Okay.
And he always loves learning, and I love learning because let's face it, I know nothing. Especially when it comes to music.
Gotta start somewhere.
But it's up to you guys whether or not you want to go through and take the time. I can still record the class and I will ask as many questions as I can think of. But without having participants, it's kind of hard to go through and teach because you don't have those questions coming back to you.
Right. That is true. I do have... This one I have quite a few more bullet points than I had for the last couple classes just because mastering is one of those things that's still a little bit of like dark artish. It's like no one...
You're a wizard.
Yeah, you're still a wizard at this point. You're like, no one really knows. Like, it's not like mixing where they're like, oh yeah, you take these tracks and you turn them into this. And it's mastering is you've taken this thing that's already created and you're just tweaking it, essentially. So, but there are things that go along where it's kind of like do's and don'ts type things because people send crazy things thinking that it's mastered and you're like, no, this is not. So, but I do have quite a bit more bullet points that go with that.
So, Alec, do you feel like hanging? I mean, you were planning on being here for the class anyways.
Yeah, definitely. Can you hear that, by the way?
What?
You sound like you have a sock over your microphone.
I heard something about a haircut.
It just sounds like there's a sock over his microphone.
Did that do anything?
Oh, that's better.
That's so much better.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Did you take the sock off?
I did. Turns out, just take the sock off.
It sounded really muffled, and we couldn't make out. It did. It just sounded like there's like when you throw a shirt over a lamp.
Sure.
Oh god. All right.
Well,
Well,
yeah, I'm glad it's working.
so thank you, Alex. So feel free to start the class, Justin, and I'm going to go through and record. You'll hear the little message pop up, so feel free to start after that.
Recording in progress.
I heard the message. Okay, so the class that I have, I believe that I wrote for this is getting ready for mastering, like kind of what you would want to send to a mastering engineer. Kind of talked in the other classes about what you would send to your mixing engineer. And usually, sometimes those two people are one and the same. Sometimes they're not, but a lot of the times nowadays, it can be one and the same. I do a lot myself. I do mixing, and then people are like, cool, we like it, now master it. Works out well for myself because I don't have to send files to people, but I get files sent to me. So kind of like a brief thing about mastering is it's taking a stereo file, or in today's age also a like an Atmos file, something that is multi-channeled, where you have left, right, center, all these kind of like surround. So you have stereo and surround, essentially. Those are kind of the two mastering that kind of exists today and age for music. The surround's still kind of in a infancy kind of state. It's kind of like the Wild West. There's not really a set for it yet. It's getting there, but it's a little like you'll talk to one engineer about doing it, and then the next guy, you talk to another guy, and they're completely different. Like there's not a lot of similarities yet. It's getting there, but it's still kind of it's an infancy thing. It's just getting there. So with the mastering, you're just taking your stereo file, that mixed project it's been recorded, it's been edited, and it's been mixed down from multi-channels to 2 or 9, depending on if you're doing surround or stereo. But we'll stick with stereo because it's a little easier to explain. So with stereo master, you've got the stereo files. You're taking that file and you're making it one, maybe a little bit louder, a little bit clearer. Those are kind of the two main ones that you'll hear in mastering. Sometimes you'll hear maybe a little more saturation from overdrive or some kind of tape machine type effect. Just depends on your style of music and if you want it to sound more like vintage or more modern. Just kind of depends. But those are kind of so you'll have loudness, maybe a little touch of reverb, some equalization for tonality, and some kind of maybe vintage effect like tape or vinyl, or maybe none of that all. But those are kind of the 5 things. Kind of once there are still people that will do a mono master, which I'm not quite sure. That's not a lot of people are listening in mono anymore, but it's still a thing that does happen, and that's just the sum of the left-right stereo mixed down to one channel. It is helpful to know how that sounds because things can disappear when you take multiple channels and put them into one. And sometimes you find things you're like, oh, that sounds way different. But for a final mix to send to a mastering engineer, your best formats are going to be WAV or this is a really hard one to say, AIFF. AIFF. It's an Apple standard, basically. Both those are they consider lossless standards, so you're not losing any information from bouncing to like MP3. You'll lose information that compresses. There's a lot of technicality that goes into how an MP3 works.
Gotcha, right.
Where a WAV file or an AIF file doesn't do that quite as much. That's the only difference. But then you're going to want either 24-bit or 32-bit float, which is just a bit standard. It's what most CDs or MP3 players or your laptop computer plays files at. And then anything that is 44.1 kilohertz or higher. That's kind of that's a sampling thing, and it's just basically taking ones and zeros. The more ones and zeros you have, the better quality, better fidelity you'll have. Also, you'll have more headroom. So if you have more ones and zeros in your digital file, you'll have a lot more headroom to play with, especially if you're doing 32-bit. But that's kind of a thing. Most people work in stereo, but it is good to hear mono. And then the organization side of it also kind of works like how I would do. I think I talked about it in the very first class, about naming things correctly. You want to name them like the song name, like this is song 1, mix 1, and then maybe a bit rate or even a date, or date and bit rate, like today's date, and we did it in 24-bit at 48 hertz or 192 or something that kind of gives your mastering engineer something that's like, okay, I now know what this is. I know what I'm dealing with right off the bat. I have to kind of guess. It's also good to know tempo and key, but it's not as critical as if you were sending it to a mixing engineer. Mastering engineers sometimes want that. Sometimes I have a buddy who does just mastering. I've asked him, like, does it matter if I send you a tempo? And he says no. He's like, I really don't care if you send me tempo. I'm not looking for tempo. I'm not beat locking anything. I'm just making sure that it's loud enough it's up to the standards for Spotify and Apple, which are widely different. And then you can send them some kind of also reference mixes, and it's kind of the same for when I talked about sending stuff to a mixing engineer. Those rough mixes, or just reference something so they can know, okay, this is how our song sounds here. This is the references we use to get the song to this point. Now, can we use that same? We want to use that same reference to get it even further, and that's all that we're doing as a mastering side of things. Is we're taking that finished product, we're taking it, and they may have gotten 99.9% there. We're just taking it to that extra 9% or 10% or 0.9% even to the finish line. That's kind of what's happening, and that's where like EQ and all these different tonality things that I'll talk about here in a minute. It's good to also kind of know intent of the mastering. Like when you're sending it to a mastering engineer, they may want to know, okay, where are you putting this? Are you streaming it? Are we making vinyl CDs or vinyl? Are we making CDs? Or are we making cassette tapes? Because those are coming back. I think it's funny. I also think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, the cassette and vinyl are coming back. Like
I like vinyl, but cassette's a weird one to come back.
Yeah, it's coming back tenfold, which is kind of interesting. That cassette vinyl never like completely disappeared.
Right. Yeah.
Where cassettes just kind of like, there's a point where like nobody used cassette tapes.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you can't even buy them in the grocery store anymore. You used to be able, like at the end cap, you could buy like cassette tapes and batteries, and that's all gone now.
Right. Yeah.
But it is a thing that's coming back, and a lot of it has to do with the pirating that's happening. You can't pirate a cassette tape. You can't really pirate. You can kind of pirate, I guess, them if you really had the technology to do it.
Yeah, I think they had like those cassette players that hooked up to your laptop at some point, right?
Yeah, if you had something like that, or there's
but it's harder to do,
yeah, something like that. It's harder to do, but can still be done. So that's why they're kind of coming back, and even CDs starting to come back.
I'm a big fan of CDs. I mean, vinyl is also still great.
Right.
The reason I like them is when I am at a show and I love that artist and I want to go through and support that artist, I want to buy their merch.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to go to iTunes or Apple Music or wherever to buy it. Because I've learned that with Apple Music, you don't actually buy the song, you buy the right to play it.
You're renting, essentially. It's the same with any streaming, really. Any streaming, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, I guess it's Apple Music, Spotify, Netflix, anything that you stream over the internet, you don't really own. Like, even if you buy a movie through Amazon Prime, a digital version through Amazon Prime, you don't buy the movie. You're buying exactly that, the rights to listen or watch that content. For as long as they provide that content, they could pull it, and then you're just your host.
And that's what has happened to me so many times with dozens of artists. And then they tell me that I have to buy the license again, and then I'll have the right to play the music that I have already purchased.
Absolutely.
So now, like the last show I went to was for Space Monkeys, and I went and I of course I took their CD. I was like, yes, I want it.
Right.
The music is awesome.
Right.
And I want to support and listen to it. And I don't want to support through Apple Music because you can lose it.
Right.
But sorry to chime in. I love a physical form because then I can buy it and I own it. As long as I don't destroy that CD or lose it, I can play it for as much as I want.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, a CD, you can, if you still have a disk drive in your computer, which I don't. But if your computer still has a disk drive, a CD drive, you can put it in there and you can rip that to your computer and still have it on your phone, but you own the files still at that point. You're not streaming it from somewhere.
You can do a thumb drive too, even.
Yeah, thumb drive.
Where you still own the files,
I have seen bands do that where they will do a digital version that's on a I actually worked with a very big artist recently that did that. Michael Martin Murphy. Many people don't know him. He was famous back in the 70s. He wrote the song Wildfire and many other country songs.
Mhm.
He's also a huge advocate in rights for Native Americans. But I did his show, and his show he had vinyl, CD. He had but he had a thumb drive that you could buy that was his entire catalog. Everything that he had
Pretty
ever
cool.
everything he had ever recorded
That's a
was
good
on.
idea. Yeah.
It was a lot more expensive than buying just like a CD or something
Sure.
because it's the entire.
But it's like a discography, right?
Yeah, it was like $50, and you got this little thumb drive, and on the thumb drive was his entire catalog, which was cool. I actually bought one for my dad because he's a huge fan. I don't know if he's going to be able to figure out how to make it work in his truck, but that's a problem for another day. But yeah, that's why CD and all these things are coming back. I think it's funny that cassette tapes are coming back because I don't know. Well, I don't know anybody who has a cassette player in their car anymore.
Right.
Um,
Well, CD players are kind of gone too, though.
Yeah, I
there's
still have a CD player in my car.
I do too as
Granted,
well.
Egg shaped, but
And
Yeah,
actually,
I guess they went longer than cassette players.
mine in my truck is actually hidden in the center console. I have to open up the very bottom of my center console to get to it. But it's there.
Still there.
It's still there. I just have never used it because it's a very inconvenient place to put it. It's kind of like when they used to put them in you put the sixth disc in your trunk.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like I have to change all 6 discs. I have to pull over and pull them out of my car. But yeah, CDs are coming back. It's great. I think it's funny that all these stores pulled their CD like sections out of their stores, like Target and Best Buy and all of them, and now they're coming back. And I'm like, that sucks for you guys because now you're gonna have to put them back in.
Well, I mean, think about all of the music stores that closed.
Oh yeah, but they've always kept like vinyl. Vinyl is always kind of been around, and like I was at Walmart the other day, and they have a huge vinyl section.
There's a really awesome record shop here in Longmont too.
I drove past it last night.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah. But no, it makes me excited that type of music sharing is coming back because I used to get frustrated with having it only be electronic.
Yep.
But anyways, I diverted you there for a moment.
No, you're fine. It's a fun little tangent that does kind of pertain to all the mastering side because when you're mastering, you need to know like how loud it needs to be because like vinyl, it can't be a certain loudness because otherwise the needle will skip. The needle will physically jump if the record's too loud. And you also have to think of if you're doing vinyl, how long are songs? Like vinyl only holds a really finite amount of information. A lot of albums that I've seen where people have done like I did a 15-song album, that's great. One was dual-sided, which worked because their songs were short enough, and then one was they were kind of like a jam band, and theirs was multiple vinyl discs because they had so many songs and each one was like 5 to 10 minutes long. That doesn't all fit well, but on a CD it fits better because there's more information, and I'm not sure how. It's been a while since I've looked at a cassette tape on how many songs fit on a cassette tape, but I want to say you used to be able to fit 16 to 17 on an entire cassette tape. That's both sides of the cassette tape. But I know hip-hop cassette tapes never really disappeared because that's how people made like their mixtapes, like hand out, especially in the underground scene.
I really hope cassette tapes don't come back because do you remember rewinding them?
I do, but that's not my biggest problem with cassette tapes. Mine is when one would get eaten in the cassette tape player.
Oh yeah.
And now you have to figure out where it got eaten and if it'll actually roll back up correctly. The rewinding was not a problem. I actually still own a cassette player. I own like several of them, but
I just remember sticking the pen, and it had to be that pen that had the flat sides, and you would just turn it.
I have one here somewhere. A pencil. We used a pencil that was octagonal pencil.
That shape.
I've got one somewhere. I thought I had one on my feet here, but it's round. It's a colored pencil and that's round. But
I'm diverting us again. But
anywho,
it's very interesting hearing how, because it never occurred to me that you could only fit so much on vinyl.
Yep.
I grew up with CDs and MP3s and, the technology that we have now. So it never dawned on me that you have to be mindful. Is that why vinyl tapes have, or vinyl records have the double-sided?
Yep, that's why they're double-sided. And then, like, what is it? My White Album from the Beatles. That thing's like 4 discs. It's
I'm at,
I
yeah.
will say
well,
they're
it's actually
usually, like,
it's actually 2 discs, 4 sides. I'm sorry, it's 2 discs, 4 sides. Because
Okay.
there was like, I don't know, like 18 songs. And
it's usually like 3 songs to a side or something, right? Ish.
you, depending on the length of the song,
Right, yeah,
there
but
was
on
a,
average.
on average, that's about right. There was a point in history where record labels and radio stations, they would limit you to writing, like if you wrote a song over 3.5 minutes, you wouldn't get radio play because it's too long.
It's still similar, but there are some longer songs now.
Well,
I guess.
that's
Still pretty.
when Bohemian Rhapsody came out, it was actually a huge deal for that song to come out, because it was the first song or one of the first songs to be over like 8 minutes and get radio play, because they
Nice.
thought
Groundbreaker.
it would be too long. People would lose attention.
Right.
But getting that on a record, imagine trying to fit, like, your mastering engineer's trying to figure out, how do I get this 8-minute song to fit on this disc that only plays 8.5 minutes? Hopefully I have enough room, because you'll notice on a record, there's probably a little bit of space at the beginning of the grooves and a little bit at the end.
Right.
And that's just so there's play, so your needle doesn't fall off. That's all that really is. But
Okay.
but yeah, all this kind of basically boils down to like loudness goals. Like, you don't want it too loud, and kind of vibe. If you get too loud, vibe can be whatever it is. That doesn't really affect the playability of your vinyl record or CD, or if you're streaming. Might start getting in. Vibe might start playing a deal once the whole battle with AI kind of either ends or officially kicks off. It's still kind of up there, and that's a whole nother rabbit trail that could you spend hours on. But that's kind of the thing is, you want it loud enough and you want it clear. You don't want a muffly master, because then it just sounds bad. So that's where the tonality kicks in, and we'll use equalizers, like an equalization tool, like an equalizer on a console or an actual unit. I don't have any to actually show. I wish I had a picture of one. But basically, it's just like in your car, you have highs, mids, and bass, and you're just kind of making sure that all of those aren't competing with each other. Or one, like if you have too much bass, now you might want a little more bass if you're doing a hip hop record, because that's kind of the genre. You may not want as much top end, that highs, you want to pull them back, or vice versa. And it just depends on the genre. But that's where the equalization comes in. But when a mastering engineer equalizes things, it's not the same as when you're mixing all the tracks for stereo. It's very subtle moves. It's like just a pinch. It's kind of like when you're cooking and you just put a pinch of salt here and maybe a dash of like pepper. You're just doing very little bits amounts at a time, as opposed to great big moves like if you were baking, you want to put a big chunk of butter in. I haven't eaten lunch, so food might come in here. But you're baking something and you put a bunch of butter in. You want the butter in there in the beginning, but at the end you're like, oh, I just want a little dash of sugar on top of everything. And that's kind of what mastering is. It's just that little pinch of stuff on top that makes your track sound the best that it can. And then kind of going back to loudness in the streaming world, every streaming platform, I can't even count how many there actually are right now, because there's some that are just they're not mainstream. Like the mainstream ones are like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and probably YouTube. Those are probably the 4 big ones that are mainstream the most. And then there's Tidal. I guess it would be the 5 then. But they each have their different loudness specifications. And actually, Spotify, if you have something that's too loud for Spotify, they will actually make your track quieter. And they'll do the opposite. If you have something, you send something to them and it's still too quiet for their specs, even though you may have used their specifications to do your record, to master your record, they'll bring it up. They'll bring it up or they'll bring it down, depending on what they think is good for their platform. Apple kind of does something similar, but it's not quite the same. I'm not sure about the others, if they do that or not, but I know for sure Spotify will make your track quieter or louder if it's not to their liking, which happens, they've got to make sure it can play across every platform.
Right. They don't want one song being way louder than the next.
Absolutely. Even though that's kind of the point of music, is to have dynamics and let it play up and down and all around. Which is also a thing that's also done in mastering, is that your mastering engineer may put like a compressor on it that does just a little bit of compression to kind of help even out that problem too. Or a limiter. You might hear people, I put a limiter on my master when I was mixing, and all that does is it takes anything that goes above it, it just brings it instantly back down. It just squishes stuff back down. That's all that's really happening. And if you do it to a certain degree, it'll make it louder. If you do it too far, it'll distort. It'll actually overdrive and cause distortion. And the best example is Metallica released an album in the early 2000s, about 2010, 11. I can't remember the name of the album. I can see the picture of it in my head here, but it was so heavily, it was mastered in a way that made it sound distorted across the entire album, that sometimes they'll do that a little bit and the general public won't hear it. But this one was so bad that even the general public, everybody out there listening to music, could hear how bad it sounded and how distorted it sounded, that it actually tanked the sale of that record. And I remember it happening because friends of mine and myself, being audio people that we are, we're like, let's take the album and throw it in and see how we'll throw it into our mixing platform here and we'll see how distorted each track actually is. And you'd throw it in, instead of seeing a nice little waveform that just kind of curves nicely like most records, it was just a brick. It was just a big solid brick of information. Everything was just chopped off. There was no intelligibility to that record, and I think it eventually got remastered. They actually had it redone because it was so bad. And then after it got remastered, it also got re-released. It had like a soft release after they redid it. And I think it did better after that, but still, it didn't. Having a master like that can make or break an album or a song. Even if you have a song that's just heavily compressed and heavily processed, it may sound good at the moment, but then you send it out there and everybody's like, this sounds terrible. Happens, unfortunately, but that kind of broke the things being too loud, because there was a point up to that where everybody was trying to be louder than everybody else. So I'm trying to be louder than you're trying to be louder than me, and then you're also trying to be louder than everybody else out there, and they called it the loudness wars. And it's kind of still there, but after that whole album, everybody kind of was like, okay, we need to cool it. We need to cool this loudness thing. It still kind of peaks here and there, but I'm just read through my notes here real quick to make sure I didn't forget anything.
My favorite part is the loudness wars of today's class.
Yeah, that was a real thing. You can go on Google and type in loudness wars and it'll pop up. I wonder if I did that now, if it actually would pop up. Loudness wars. Yep.
I do have a question in regards to the difference of medium, I guess, the types of stuff that the artist can go through, whether it's CD, vinyl, MP3.
USB drive.
A musician, like let's say I am a rock musician,
right,
and I am recording an album. Are there better formats that I should be aiming for, since being, in rock, it's louder? What should I be looking for? Like, what should an artist be looking for? If they're a bluegrass, is vinyl good for them, or is CD best?
I find bluegrass vinyl is probably very good for them, because that's a genre where people are they're kind of more into the artisan type of thing. Including myself, I have a massive vinyl collection. If I can buy a person like an artist that album on vinyl, I will most likely buy it before I buy the CD version, which limits to me where I can listen to it, but that's okay. I'll listen to my living room. It works out fine. I just can't listen into the car. I can't just plug it into the car and go. I probably could because I have a portable record player. One of
Well,
those.
they now
suitcase
make
ones.
the record player that pulls the music
Yep.
and puts it into an MP3.
Yep. Yep, I have seen those. Those have been around for quite a while, actually.
Mhm.
They came out in early to
Early
mid
two-
2000s, something like that.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
I'm thinking. I think my grandfather has one.
Yeah.
But that is something that is possible.
Yes.
It's just the listener would have to have those tools at their
Yes.
disposal to go through.
Absolutely.
Unless, listening in a living room is still perfectly fine too.
I enjoy it because I can sit there and on a snowy day and pop in a couple vinyls and then my kids are actually, it's kind of fun. My kids know what vinyl. They've grown up with vinyl. My vinyl collection I've had since, I don't know, I could listen to music. But their friends come over and look at it and they're like, what's this strange disc? Because they're big, I've got some that are this big and I've got some that are still, they're smaller, but they're still bigger than a CD. And they're still like, what are these strange discs that your dad is playing? And they like, it's vinyl. It's a vinyl record. Have you never seen one? No, we've never seen one. So it's kind of fun when you have people over to have the vinyl record as well that maybe haven't listened to it. I used to be in a guys group. There was a group of us guys, and we would have vinyl Fridays, like once a month. We go to one of us. There's like 5 of us, and we alternate houses when we go and listen to vinyl and talk and drink or whatever we would do.
I mean, music's amazing.
So it was fun, and like it is, vinyl is still kind of like a very collectible thing. It's starting to become a very expensive collectible thing because it's becoming so popular. I remember there was a point where I could buy a vinyl record for 99 cents. And I loved those days because you could walk out $20. You walked out with 20 new records. That's actually how much I paid for my White Album, my Beatles White Album. I paid $1.09, I think, at a thrift store.
I think from iTunes, I paid around 80 or 90 bucks.
Yep. Yeah, I have, but I have it on vinyl. I also have the CD version too. I have everything I have on vinyl. I have CD copies of. But yeah, it just depends because you can. Some artists will do they'll master a record, and then when they release it, they will release it as like, we're going to do 100 copies because it still is kind of a pricey thing to have vinyl made, but you can always do like a limited run of like, we're going to do. There was one, and I tried to pick one up from them, and I can't remember what artist it was off the top of my head right now. I went and saw them play, and they had clear vinyls. Instead of them being black, they were purely clear, and they looked really cool, and it was like a limited run of like 50. And they're like, the first 50, come and get them, and as soon as we're out, we're out. And I got there, and they were out, and I was like, I missed it. And that was it. They weren't going to do any more, because it was, I think they said it was, I was talking with one of them, and they were like, yeah, it was like $1,000 for us to have these 10 clear vinyls made with the jackets, and because there's only like 3 pressing plants for records in the United States.
And one of them I follow on Instagram.
And
they do the clear ones with pretty designs too.
And Jack White owns 3 of them. So that kind of gets you an idea of how many people own record pressing plants. Actually, I think he owns 4. I think he has one he opened one up in London. So There's not very many places where they'll actually make them. There's a couple in Nashville, a couple in Detroit, and I think there's one in California. There's not so it's still kind of an expensive thing to have done because there's not very many places doing it. And the places that are doing it are a little backed up because of it. So I've heard it taking 6 months to a year to get pressings done.
I mean, it sounds like it'd be a fun thing for an artist to do in a limited release. Just because
or anniversary. If you've been a band that's been around for 10 years, your 10-year anniversary, you do an album that is like, it's only vinyl. We're only doing a vinyl release for this album because it is our anniversary. We've been around for 10 years. We've made it 10 years. type thing.
No, that totally is awesome. For the musician, awesome. They could have a
Mhm.
limited release vinyl. It'd sound amazing. It would
Right.
cost somewhere around 1,000 or on up. It'd be a bit more expensive
Right.
than, let's say, doing a mass produced CD, because
Right.
I can burn a CD in my computer.
Right.
I mean,
I own a duplicator that does like 7 at a time. So when people have
now,
me do
is
them,
there any like sound difference? I mean, obviously a vinyl is going to sound, or a record's going to sound different than a CD, but for an artist who's trying to get their music out there.
I would say if you're an artist and you're trying to get your music out there, your cheapest route, right? The most inexpensive, not necessarily cheapest, just the most inexpensive way to do it with the best fidelity would be like a USB drive, because you can go buy a pack of them like at Costco, for like $40, and you get like 50 of them.
Mhm.
You can go do that, and then you could just put it on there and just sell them with a little tag that has like maybe your Instagram and contact info of like who you are and kind of your marketing tag.
Sure.
They
I want
actually
to
make.
say
Sorry, Alex.
CDs. I want to say CDs, like get 1,000 CDs. It's only like $2 a piece or something. Also, or not.
Depending on your it all depends on your quality of CD. If you want
Sure.
like the white writable ones, I have a stack of
This was a while ago too. I guess last time whiskey
yeah,
did
they're still
1,000 CDs was
they're
10 years ago. So
now that they're coming back, it's a little easier to get them. But there for a while, it was getting hard. Like for me to buy a pack of 100 white CDs. They're the white ones that you can write on, that you can print. Like you can actually print your logo and stuff on them. I like those ones the best because you can write on them and there's no like logo from the CD manufacturer on them. It's just you just write your name, your whatever.
right.
That's usually how I would do masters. Is I'd just write master, and this is your master CD. Take it to wherever you're going to get it duplicated.
There are some printers too that will print on this special type of essentially sticker paper.
I've got those too.
I imagine that has to be way worse than putting a screen cover on your phone.
It is, except for
it's something that you can do.
There is a cheat to that, a hack, I suppose, is what we would do. I actually have a printer that does those specifically, and I would take them, I would print them off, put the CD back in the CD little spindle, and since it has the same hole as the CD, I'd peel it off to where that little hole is, and I would stick it down, and it would make sure you get it flat. The problem you have though is with those stickers, if you get them in some of the CD players where there's not a tray, like the Apple one, or like there's not very many CD players out there anymore, or CD drives out there anymore.
Yeah, I haven't said this phrase in a while, but a Discman did not have one of those trays.
No, it kind of came up like it kind of opened like a clamshell. But what happens is as they heat up, because there's a laser hitting the disc, and as that disc heats up, sometimes that sticker comes off inside your CD player or your CD drive.
That's essentially like the cassette tape where it gets.
Except for it completely ruins your CD player because it gets stuck in there, and there's no way. With some of the drives that are sealed, like Apple makes one, Dell made one for a while. Some of the ones that were you just kind of like the Xbox where you just stick the disc in and it would just suck the disc in. Those type of ones where it would get stuck in there, and those ones, I don't know if they ever discontinued them or not, but I'd seen them get ruined, like ruin a CD, or it gets stuck halfway out and you have to like almost break your CD to get it out because it's all glued together. That's the only problem that I've had with those ones, but you can if you can still get the paper. I stopped using mine because I couldn't get the paper for it anymore. But
to be honest, if the artist, just as a fan of music in general, if the artist that I am a fan of just had their sleeve done up in their logo and their branding, and it was just a blank CD, I would be a happy little camper.
My favorite one, where was I at? Oh, it was Foco MX this year up in Fort Collins. Big. It's like 3 days worth of music. Every local artist in like northern Colorado goes to it. It's a lot of fun. But there was an artist up there, and I can't remember their name, but they were selling CDs. But they would actually, like, oh, you want to buy a CD? Here. They would take the white CD, take it off the spindle, write the name of the CD, their name, like in Sharpie, and hand it to you.
And see, I'm fine with that.
I actually
it's
thought
nice
it was really
and efficient
cool
for the artist.
I thought it was cool because it's personable. It's like, oh, you're actually taking the time to know your fans because you are sitting here, and they would sign it. They would be like, name of the album, whatever, and they date it and sign it and then hand it to you. And that was the name of that was their thing. And I was like, that's genius to my brain, because you're getting to know people who are actually supporting you, as opposed to just like, oh, you bought a CD and now they're gone.
And it's more of a keepsake than just a CD.
And I still listen to that CD because of that. It's like, oh, I remember that because these guys were cool. I remember them more because when they pop up in my feed, oh, they're playing a show down in Boulder. I'll go see them because there was that personability of, you get up to 1,000+ fans, your hand's probably going to hurt. But it's still like the thing of signing, back in the day when people bring like photographs and you'd sign them and hand them back type scenario. My memorabilia. I'm dating myself a little bit.
I think I dated myself too with bringing up a Discman.
Yeah, I date myself quite often, so it's okay.
But for a musician, and you covered some of this in the first class about what to go through and like make sure your stuff is labeled. So
a lot of it pertains to both sides. Yeah.
But this class we talked a bit more about what the outcome of all of that hard work will be, and what a musician can go through. And like, when you're planning this, if you're knowing you want a complete vinyl release,
right,
it's going to be more expensive.
Yep.
And if you're going, did you answer, and I do apologize for backtracking a little bit.
Maybe.
Is there any like format that is better for a specific genre? Like, is rock better on vinyl?
I think it is, but that's just it's in the listener. It's like in the eye of the beholder type thing. It's in the listener's preferability. There's some albums I have where I've listened to it on CD, and then I bought the vinyl record because I was like, cool, I really want this. The last Foo Fighters record was this way, I felt. It sounded good both ways, but I still prefer the CD over the vinyl. Like, I don't know why. It's not like an ease of use or anything. I just prefer the sound of the CD. And it's just it's like I said, it's kind of like the eye of the beholder. There are genres that you probably won't see too often on vinyl. One would be probably newer hip-hop. All the new hip-hop that's out. You'll still find like Sugar Hill Gang on vinyl and like Run DMC and DMX. You'll find those still out there because they came out on vinyl. Or not, they had a vinyl option when they came out because it was still a thing. But yeah, nowadays there's very few records where I'm like, yeah, that sounds better than the vinyl sounds better. I have one that I bought recently that came with, it was cool. It came with the vinyl record, a CD, and a digital download code. So you could get all three.
That is good.
That was very handy. And I've listened to the CD and I've listened to the vinyl, and I haven't listened to digital yet because I just haven't had time to use the download code. But the vinyl I didn't think sounded all that spectacular, and the CD was better, but I still haven't decided which one I prefer to listen to the most of.
So it would be up to the preference of the musician.
But there are genres that you probably won't see on vinyl, and that would be like maybe house music, stuff like
DJ stuff,
DJ style stuff. You're probably not going to see too many of that on vinyl anymore. Mostly because that whole subgenre has moved away from vinyl. The DJs that use that style of music, they're using digital turntables now. So it doesn't make sense to have it. Plus, it's a whole lot easier to carry a thumb drive than it is to carry a crate of discs when you're doing DJ stuff. Even if you're carrying a crate of CDs, it's still... I was at a coffee shop downtown Loveland on Friday, and they had a DJ playing. He was playing coffee shop at 8 o'clock in the morning, I thought was kind of weird. But he had I was talking to him. He had a song going. I was getting coffee and talking with him, and he was like, "Yeah, I do this quite often. I DJ all sorts of not like stuff like this, like coffee shops and just like kind of obscure things. Like, and what do you travel with?" He's like, "I see your setup here." He's like, "I have a thumb drive." I'm like, "What about CDs or anything?" He's like, "I used to, but I actually prefer the thumb drive because I can throw it in my pocket and walk out with everything, as opposed to, okay, and I got everything plus my crate of stuff to play." So the DJ stuff will probably not ever come back to vinyl, but rock will probably always be a good thing on vinyl. Probably your singer-songwriter bluesgrass stuff, that's kind of a collectible type thing. But I don't know if there's really ever anything that will, like, one genre that will specifically be, we're going to be vinyl only forever now, you know, that now that's come back. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say. And some of it has to do with, you know, some of the licensing stuff that's going on right now in the music world. And so, and I'm not even quite sure. I haven't never had to license music for a vinyl, so I don't even know what that entitles myself. But a lot of the companies that do the digital stuff right now, like CD Baby and TuneCore and all those, they all handle that. So I imagine they have I think TuneCore actually has a vinyl option. If you do it through TuneCore, there's a vinyl option that you can opt into. I think you pay
awesome.
Pay an extra like $5 or something like that, and you can opt into their vinyl option, and then all your and then you can choose how much of your catalog goes to vinyl.
These conversations made me want to go out and get a record player.
I have the little suitcase one, the little Crosley ones. I think I paid like $40 for it. It's fantastic, little player.
I'm gonna have to go grab one.
Yeah, and it's great because I like that it folds up and only takes up no more space than my laptop does on a desk.
Nice.
So I can fold it up and set it somewhere, and it's out of the way. It travels with me because it's got a built-in speaker. So sometimes it'll be upstairs, sometimes it'll come down to the studio with me. Sometimes I've taken it on the back porch a couple times. Just sat on my back patio, nice day, and just let vinyl play. So
nice.
My neighbors looked at me weird, but that's okay. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of things.
Oh, sorry, you were going to continue.
I was going to say, the one thing you want to watch out for with some of these when you're transferring, like say you're sending files to a mastering engineer, and this is kind of a crucial thing, is you want to read your terms of usage and say like Dropbox or Google Drive or the dreaded WeTransfer. I don't know if you've heard about what's happening with them or not, but I kind of right now stay away from WeTransfer because their terms of use now says that they can take your content and use it for their own marketing without your consent. Actually, it's with your consent because you signed up for the terms of use. So just kind of read that carefully when you're sending things, because you don't want your hard-earned work that you've worked so hard on to get sounding right and sounding good to end up on somebody else's thing and you not get paid for it. Because WeTransfer's not even paying people for it. They're just taking it. So they're just taking your content, whatever you've uploaded and sent to people, whether it's an engineer or a friend or whatever, they're taking that content on their and keeping it on their servers and using it for their own usage. So
yeah,
kind of be aware of.
Sounds a lot or similar to what Spotify does.
Yeah, but they've taken it a whole next step of just not even like they put it in there, but nobody ever reads it. So they were just doing it, and some guy, I think it was a YouTuber, was like going through hey, we're gonna go through the terms of use for WeTransfer, and they found it, and then found out that there's like they found something, one of their images, a picture they had sent, ended up on WeTransfer's website as like it was like a picture of them, like I don't know, they were running through the rain or something, like splashing in puddles type scenario, and it was them. They were like, that's my picture. And he went back and found it in his library, in his own like hard drive. He's like, yeah, I own that picture. That's my picture. So it's just kind of something to be wary of when you're sending digital
files. It's always
files.
important for an artist to be aware of that stuff, because you don't want to accidentally lose the rights to your own.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your music.
Creation.
Yeah, you don't want to lose it all. And it kind of threw the the audio world in a little bit of a tizzy lately because of it. Is you don't want to send your hard-earned work to someone to review or master, and then you kind of find out that the company you use to transfer it is using it for their own thing. Dropbox has done it that in the past where it's used people's content, but they've contacted the people who own that content, saying, "Hey, we'd like to use some of your content. Is that okay?" And they're like, "Yeah," and they usually end up getting compensated for that usage. But WeTransfer is just like, "Nope, we're going to use it. We don't care what you say." So they're in a little bit of trouble right now. But it's just something to keep aware of, to know where when you're sending stuff, that the people you're sending it through aren't trying to steal it without your knowledge.
It's always important for any creative to be aware of that,
Absolutely.
whether they're a musician, painter, sculpt, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But continue. Do apologize.
That was all I had on that aspect of things. So
Okay. Is there anything else on your agenda to go through and chat about with us today?
One thing that's always nice as an engineer, when people send me stuff to either mix, master, or even record for them, is that at the end you send like a thank you note, like, "Hey, thanks for working on this," just like
That's a good idea.
Yeah, just like, "Hey, thanks, great job," or even if the project doesn't work out, like, "Oh, it's just not going to work out for everybody because I'm working in, this weird subgenre, like if someone were asked me to record a house music, I'm like, I will try, but if it doesn't work out,
it's not your genre.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't work out, it's still nice to send them like, "Hey, thanks for trying, well, we're going to find somebody else, but thanks for trying. It was a good meeting you," type thing. We'll think of you in the future, just something that kind of makes it a little bit personable, because that just a little bit sometimes goes. As an engineer, you kind of get left in the dark a lot on the recognition. I think I watched the Grammys this year, and I think I counted twice where they thanked the engineer. Like, I was like, "Well, that's great of you guys. They worked on your hard music for you for probably weeks on end, and you didn't even recognize that they, mixed your record."
Third cousins first.
Yeah, I'm thinking my brother and my mom and. What about the guy
great grandma?
Yeah, what about that guy who worked on your album for like 6 months? That you yelled at because he got the chorus wrong or something. Something like that. It's like, just thank them that they actually worked on your record and did a good job. That's a big thing in the engineering world, is it goes thankless. So if you can send anything that's just remotely, "Hey, thanks. Stuff sounds great. We love it. We look forward to maybe doing something in the future or whatever. Even if it goes wrongly, it's still nice to have something like, "Hey, thanks for trying."
It's always important too to end on a positive note, even if it's going wrong. Just because we're all human.
Oh yeah.
And
I burn bridges.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I just want to make as many friends as you can in general, I think.
Yep. I've had several artists that I don't work with now because of it, where they just totally threw me under the bus. Some in front of my face, some behind my face. So, but it's always good to end on an up note.
And like you hit the nail on the head a few moments ago. Even if it doesn't work out well, it's okay that everyone parts ways.
Yeah,
we don't have to work together in this world.
Yeah, it's fun to try, because you never know what's going to happen. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Life moves forward.
Oh, well, Justin, I value you immensely.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for teaching me.
And me too. You teach me a lot of stuff.
Hopefully somebody gets some value out of this at some point in time.
Do, yeah. Good shit.
And I went into it not knowing that you needed to have different hertz speeds, I think is what you said, for like vinyl or CD.
It's not vinyl has various speeds to it. It's got RPMs, and how fast the disc spins. That's where you hear like, "I have a 45." That means it spins at 45 RPM. It's just how fast the disc spins. And then 33s are littler disc. And actually, on a vinyl record, if you play, you can get some fun stuff that happens when you play a disc at the wrong speed.
Yeah.
You can either get chipmunk mode
Yeah,
or
right.
it drops a whole octave.
Real low.
Yeah, it just depends. I have actually, my record player has a variable speed, which is very fun to play with.
Right.
You can go really slow or really fast or anywhere in between. I have a few records that play at fun. I have one that plays at 45.5. So every time I play it, I always have to bump it up just a little bit so it plays right.
Yeah.
But it's an old disc. It was made in like the 50s. So I think that's when it was made, maybe even the 40s.
Gotcha. And that RPM was just kind of phased out or something.
Well, it was probably back when they were still trying to figure out how fast.
They didn't have a set standard.
Exactly, where there was not a set standard of how fast things should spin. And I imagine CDs probably had that in the beginning too, but it was less likely of a thing because it was a medium that was the 80s were a weird time for CDs when they came out. They came out late 70s, early 80s, and that whole time frame of music was a little funky anyways, on specs, and because there was so much stuff coming out so fast that they just, kind of like now, where there's so much stuff coming out so fast that they don't know what to do with it.
Right on. Well, I appreciate it. I just had somebody pull up. I got to run out and meet with quick.
You.
But I really appreciate you taking the time to help me out, educate me.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, thank you all so much. I'm going to go through and end the meeting now, but I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Okay,
right on. Too. You too.
Have a great day,
everyone.
Thank you,
Justin.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Beer. I need beer. Beer. Hope everyone enjoyed our live stream today. If I missed you or I didn't talk, that's because I was teaching in class. But you can check out this stuff later. It's all fun to look at and hear. Got some people asking inappropriate questions on here. But anyways, thanks for watching. And in case I missed you, good morning, good evening, and good night.